And we're starting with a brand new image of Iran's supreme leader during his Friday address. Take a look at this picture that we've just obtained, viewer. It is of the supreme leader of Iran, the Al-Khamenei, addressing the Friday prayers with a gun by his side. You can see that there's a gun right there by his side, a sniper rifle, it appears, right next to the Iran supreme leader during his address. That's the picture we have for you there. He was holding on to a rifle just at the time. It's an assault rifle that he's holding. It's a sniper rifle that he's holding right at the time that he is conducting his address. It's obviously a symbolic show, a show of strength, clutching a sniper rifle as he makes that address. These images just in right now. Remember that everything is a symbol now between Iran and Israel. The two countries have already exchanged airstrikes, assassinations, and now missiles as well. And Iran is counting down to what is almost certain to be an Israeli response to the missile attack 3 nights ago. Where will it be? What intensity will it be? How will it be carried out? Nobody knows for sure, except maybe only a handful of people in Israel itself. But every image, every picture, every narrative carefully fine-tuned. Here is the Al-Khamenei clutching a sniper rifle. Very unusual. Clutching a sniper rifle to exude strength, to exude Iranian resolve as he addresses the Friday prayers in Tehran a short while ago. Now remember, the supreme leader of Iran, who made this first appearance hosting the Friday prayers, is a very rare occasion since the last 5 years on the day of Hezbollah chief Nasrullah's funeral. It's a mock funeral, however. A mournful yet angry Khamenei called the October 1st strikes against Israel as a minimum punishment, indicating that there could be more ahead, and warned that if provoked, Iran will not hesitate to strike Israel again, claiming that they will stop at nothing to defeat their enemy. Here's what he said.
The Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, made a rare public appearance in Tehran on Friday. This was his first appearance in 5 years as he led the Friday prayers at the Imam Khamenei Musalla to commemorate the death of Hezbollah chief Syed Hassan Nasrullah. The streets of Tehran were flooded by lakhs of people. Every road, every corner of the mosque was plastered with posters of the Hezbollah chief and Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. The Iranian supreme leader got visibly emotional as he hailed Nasrullah as a martyr.
We are all in a state of pain and mourning the martyrdom of our dear Sayyid. This is a big loss. However, our mourning does not mean losing hope.
Khamenei also recalled Tuesday's missile strikes on Israel, referring to Iran's attack as least punishment.
The move taken by our armed forces was the least punishment for the occupying Zionist regime in the face of the crimes, the unbelievable crimes committed by that regime, the bloodthirsty regime.
He also justified the October 7 Hamas attack on Israel.
And Al-Aqsa flood operation that October last year was carried out, that was a correct move, logical move based on international law, and Palestinians had the right to do so.
In his address that lasted over an hour, Khamenei also issued a direct warning to Israel.
Any nation has the right to defend its soil, its houses, its country, its interests. They have the right to defend that in the face of aggressors. We neither hesitate, we will not give up, but we will not rush at the same time.
Khamenei's address was broken by chants of death to Israel and America and cries in support of Hezbollah and Hamas.
The enemy of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the enemy of the Iranian nation is the enemy of the Palestinian nation. The enemy is the same. The order is issued from one place. And that order is issued from the same place to attack Islamic nations and Islamic countries.
The Supreme Leader of Iran has made his and Iran's intent clear that this war is far from over. Bureau Report, India Today.
And right after the Iran Supreme Leader Al-Khamenei finished his Friday speech, a barrage of rockets were fired toward northern Israel from Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. So the attacks continue. The crossfire between Israel and the Hezbollah continues even after a huge number of airstrikes that have killed, among others, Hassan Nasrullah and also reportedly his successor. So there are still rocket and missile positions of the Hezbollah that are able to continue their attacks on Israeli positions. Now remember that Iran has warned that the missile attack that took place a couple of days ago is not going to be the first or the last. There might actually be other attacks. They've said that the initiative is with Israel. They're prepared completely for any kind of an Israeli retaliation. So I want to show you what Iran's missile ranges actually look like. We've got some data to show you what Iranian weaponry in terms of its reach actually looks like vis-a-vis Israel. And I have it here on my wall, so I'm going to put it up on this graphic to show you that Iran, which is a country that has, with Russian help, developed a large number of missiles, many of which were actually on display a couple of nights ago. They've got the Shahab and Fateh missiles with an estimated range of about 300 kilometers. Those are very short-range ballistic missiles. Then they've got the longer-range Shahab 2, which are of a 500-kilometer variety. The Zolfagar is estimated with a range of about 700 kilometers. You can see the circles being drawn around Iran. That's the kind of reach each of these missiles actually have. The Qiyam 1 is even longer range at about 800 kilometers. The Shahab 3, 2,000 kilometers. That's an intermediate range missile. The Sejil has also a 2,000 kilometer range. Now remember, these are a mix of ballistic and cruise missiles. The Khorram Shaher, again, 2,000 kilometers. Saumar is a cruise missile with a range of 2,500 kilometers. And there are many missiles in between in terms of range, 1,500 kilometers, etc., that have been used, including the Fatah 2, which is a hypersonic weapon that was used a couple of nights ago in Israel. Now, the success or failure of these weapons continues to be in the realm of speculation, but Iran has basically said they are ready for a retaliation and that they will respond once again. Let's get a quick expert view on this. There's a great deal of fog of war. There are lots of claims and counterclaims being made at this point of time. But at a time when Hassan Nasrullah's mock funeral has taken place, there is no funeral that's happening out in the open for fear that that might become the next target for an Israeli airstrike. The Supreme Leader of Iran has sent out another big warning to Israel. Let's get an expert perspective from Israel on where the country stands and what its next step could be. Brigadier General Amir Avivi is the founder and chairman of the IDSF. Brigadier Amir, thank you very much for your time, sir, and for being with us here on India Today. Good to see you. My first question to you, and it's a question that everybody is asking at this point of time, is what could Israel's next step be? You know, obviously, operationally, that nobody can really comment on that. Nobody really knows. But how do you assess it, Brigadier General, about what Israel could do next?
So let's look at the whole picture. In Gaza, the goals of war are clear: to eradicate Hamas as a governmental and military entity, to bring back all the hostages, and create the terms that never again there will be a terror army in Gaza. And Israel is moving towards these goals. Basically, Israel has dismantled Hamas as a military entity, but not yet as a governmental entity. And this would be the next step. Also continuing pressure to release our hostages. In the north, Israel set a clear goal to bring back our citizens home safely. We have 60,000 Israelis who have been displaced in the last 11 months due to the danger of Hezbollah doing a ground incursion and massacring people the way Hamas did in the south. So Israel, as top of almost all the leadership of Hezbollah, has degraded dramatically their shooting capabilities, the rockets, missiles, drones, and now we're cleaning South Lebanon from Hezbollah presence to create a buffer zone that would create the safety needed to bring back the citizens. As for Iran, this is not about them shooting and then us shooting. This is about Iran orchestrating everything in the Middle East, building huge terror armies, moving towards the nuclear capabilities. And this is the historical moment where Israel has to put an end to Iran aspirations for nuclear capabilities. And it would be wise for the US and the international coalition to join, because Iran is not just a danger to Israel. It's a global danger. It's a regional danger. They want global domination. They're building these long-range missiles also to shoot Europe and the US. This is not just about Israel. So this is the moment to deal with them. They talk a lot. Their capabilities are much less than people might think. They shot a fifth of their missiles and it didn't hit even one Israeli. So this is pretty much what they're able to do. And now it's time for Israel to do what it needs to do. And there are many, many possibilities, from hitting their oil refineries, destroying their nuclear sites, and also hitting the leadership of Iran, and maybe freeing the Iranian people from this evil regime.
Brigadier General Avivi, like you commented on the, possible airstrikes on their nuclear facilities or their, their energy establishments, their oil refineries, etc. We do know that in Iran, their nuclear facilities are, pretty much deep underground. Some of them are situated under mountains. As a military man, are those credible targets, sir? Are those going to be easy to hit? I'm just asking because Iran probably out of for this very reason, the possibility of its missile positions and nuclear facilities being vulnerable to an attack from Israel, have built them almost largely underground.
Yes, Nasrullah was also largely underground, with all his leaders deep underground. And Israel hit his headquarters and killed him and 20 Hezbollah leaders deep underground. So when you see Israel being able to fly almost 2,000 kilometers and hit the Houthis in Yemen, 2,000 kilometers is much more than the size in Iran. And when you see Israel being able to hit deep in the ground, the headquarters of Hezbollah, you can understand that Israel has full capability to inflict very, very serious damage on Iran and set them back decades, talking about their nuclear plans.
Iran also says, Brigadier General, that the missile attack on Israel a couple of days ago, of course, Iran claims one thing. Israel has said that most of the missiles were intercepted. They were not successful. Iran has said that many of the missiles did manage to penetrate Israel's shield. And they say that this alone is reason enough to deter Israel, because if Israel now attacks, Iran will send even more missiles. Does that create a situation where Israel may rethink its retaliation?
Not at all. Not at all. And again, it's not about a retaliation. It's about an historical opportunity to relieve the region and the world from this huge danger. We probably would have done that even without them shooting, because this needs to be done. These nuclear capabilities that are being developed will change the whole globe. It's not just about Israel. And we need to deal with this. As for Iran, they are liars. We are not. And I can tell you that they shot twice around 500 missiles, most of them intercepted. And the fact is they didn't manage to do anything. Not even one Israeli was hit. They hit only one Gazan in the Jordan Valley. So this is the reality. They are much weaker than people might think. And the same for Hezbollah. People talked many years about the capabilities of Hezbollah. Said that they will shoot 2,000 rockets a day, every day. And we see in 1 week, Israel being able to completely almost dismantle them. And it won't take long until the IDF takes control of South Lebanon and destroys their special forces in South Lebanon. So after we deal with Lebanon, for sure, the whole Air Force will be completely free to deal mostly with Iran and its more distant proxies, whether it's the Houthis in Yemen or the militias in Iraq.
Brigadier General Amir Avivi, pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much for joining us with your inputs on this story. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, breaking news coming in. A source close to the Hezbollah has told AFP, an international news agency, that the Hezbollah's chief, Hassan Nasrullah, has been temporarily buried at a secret location, fearing that Israel would target any public funeral if it was announced in the open. A Lebanese official has told AFP, that's Agency France Presse, on condition of anonymity, that the Hezbollah had tried through Lebanese leaders to obtain guarantees from the American side to organize a public mass funeral for Hassan Nasrullah, who's a very popular figure in Lebanon. He's a politician and a person who heads the Hezbollah, which is also a militant organization. But in the wake of successive Israeli airstrikes and raids on southern suburbs of Beirut, the capital, no such guarantees were obtained. And that's why a mock burial of Hassan Nasrullah has taken place somewhere in Lebanon today, out of fear that a public funeral would possibly become a target for an Israeli airstrike. So that's the latest that we're getting to you right now on that. Remember, Israel on Friday allegedly targeted also Hashim Safieddine, the man widely regarded as the likely successor of Hezbollah's slain leader Hassan Nasrullah. It's yet to be confirmed. It remains in the realm of speculation. But on the day that Nasrullah was laid to rest in that mock funeral, an Israeli airstrike on his cousin and possible successor Safieddine is another lethal blow to the militant group.
Over the past 24 hours, the IDF eliminated the head of Hamas's local network in Samaria and other terror operatives who were planning an imminent attack. In the north, Hezbollah has continued to target Israeli communities. Over the last hour, the IDF confirmed that Hezbollah fired 20 rockets in direction of Israel. Nearly a week after the elimination of Hezbollah's chief, Hassan Nasrallah, the IDF has confirmed that it targeted Nasrallah's apparent heir in Beirut during meetings with other terror operatives.
Israeli airstrike in Beirut continues. In one of these airstrikes, Israel claimed to have targeted senior Hezbollah leader Hashim Safieddine, considered a potential successor to the slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrullah. It happened on the day Nasrullah was to be buried. A series of massive blasts rocked Beirut's southern suburbs late Thursday night and into Friday morning. These are suspected to have hit Safieddine, as reported in a social media post by Axios, but it hasn't been verified by any. Hashim Safieddine is the maternal first cousin of the late Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrullah, and like him is a cleric who wears the black turban, denoting descent from Islam's prophet Muhammad. As head of the Executive Council, Safieddine oversees Hezbollah's political affairs. He also sits on the Jihad Council that manages the group's military operations. Both US State Department and Saudi Arabia designated him a terrorist in 2017. He was also at the center of sanctions placed on Hezbollah by the US and Saudi Arabia in 2018. Hashim Saifuddin's public statements often reflect Hezbollah's militant stance and its alignment with the Palestine cause.
This aggression certainly has its own punishment and retribution. This punishment is surely coming by the will of God Almighty.
Saifuddin's family ties and a physical resemblance to Nasrullah, as well as his religious status as a descendant of Muhammad, were all in his favor to succeed his cousin as the chief of Hezbollah.
And India Today continues to be the only Indian network with ground reporters in all of the countries directly involved in this current conflict. We've got Emily Botpol in Tel Aviv, Israel. Ashraf Wani is our man on the ground in Lebanon. Ashraf, I want to quickly come to you first. Apparently, a mock burial of Hassan Nasrallah was carried out of fear that any public event or any public gathering would possibly become another target for an airstrike. What are you hearing? Where did this happen? Obviously, the Hezbollah is being very secretive about this, Ashraf.
Absolutely. We have also got this confirmation from the Hezbollah people that he has been secretly buried in the Lebanon. They have not disclosed the place, but his this symbolic grave will be guarded 24/7 by the Hezbollah fighters, but particularly his personal guards, so that no one knows about this grave, either in the public nor in any other way. So that because there are followers of Hassan Nasrullah across this region, particularly in the Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, and Syria, who could rush and are ready to die for their leader. So to avoid that kind of thing, the Hezbollah has decided that unless and until the situation does not improve in the Lebanon, particularly as the war is going on with Israel, till then the public funeral will not take place, and the final destination for his burial and the day will be decided by the supreme leader of Iran when and where it happens. And so far, what we are getting that there is a very tough fight going on in the south. I was till now in the south part of the Lebanon. During last 48 hours, particularly during last 24 hours, scenario of war has changed as at least more than 200 aerial attacks carried out by the IDF in different parts of the Lebanon.
Stay with me, Ashraf. I also want to bring in Emily. Emily, the supreme leader of Iran spoke today. You know, he had many strong things to say, but all eyes continue to be on what Israel's next move is going to be. All options appear to be on the table. What are you picking up?
Thank you very much. Here from Tel Aviv, as you very much said, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said today in his speech that Israel cannot harm Hamas and Hezbollah, and that Israel cannot harm Hamas and Hezbollah, and that we will, and that that they cannot harm Hamas and Hezbollah, and that Hamas's October 7 massacre, was legitimate. Now, shortly after, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant released a statement about his visit in northern Israel, in a military base in northern Israel, where he assured that Israel has a lot more surprises in store for Hezbollah, terror group, and that the terror group actually sustained severe blows in the recent weeks. In addition, the IDF has released a statement saying that they have struck a tunnel that crossed a 3.5-kilometer tunnel that struck from Lebanon to Syria, and that was used to supply Hezbollah with Iranian weapons. Over the last 2 weeks, the IDF has decimated, as you very much pointed out, Hezbollah's leadership. Most notably, last week with the targeting and the elimination of Hezbollah's chief Hassan Nasrallah, the targeting as well of Hezbollah's Nasrallah's presumed heir, Hashim Saifuddin. And the IDF has also mentioned the elimination of Hezbollah's head of communication. Now, as Israel prepares to mark a year since October 7 massacre, and Hezbollah continues to target Israel's northern communities with rockets, missiles, and drones, over 10,000 rocket missiles and drones since October 8. Israel's population remains displaced for nearly a year in the north of the country.
Absolutely. And we're going to be looking at that very, very closely because things are on the brink. The airstrikes in southern Lebanon continue. The gaze on Iran continues as well. It's going to be a hot weekend, and we're going to keep a very, very close track on it. Emily and Ashraf, please stay safe. Thank you very much for joining me live on this story. The only channel that has ground reporters, like I said, in Lebanon, in Tel Aviv, in Iran, in Syria, and elsewhere. And that's the reason why we get you a 360-degree view of this entire unfolding conflict. When you report war, you need a 360-degree perspective. And for that, you need credibility to get voices from all the stakeholders, all of the sides, and all of the countries directly involved. And that's the reason why I'm proud to tell you that India Today is the only channel that has interviews with all three ambassadors of Israel, of Lebanon, and of Iran. Here is that 360-degree exclusive. Listen to every word of these three enemy nations' envoys to India talking about what's going on.
If you say that there has been this bombing of the Palestinian people, of the destruction of Gaza, how is a missile strike of the kind that Iran has launched on Israel going to actually stop that? It will only embolden Israel even further to target Iran, possibly to target other parts where Iranian so-called proxies are there.
Can I just add there, is Iran prepared? Is Iran prepared for an attack by Israel? Because that's certainly something that's going to happen.
It's a good question. You know, the question has two parts. The first part is that the relation between Iranian strike to Israel and ongoing massacre in Gaza.
How is it going to stop it?
You know, we indirectly, when Israel is engaged with itself inside Israel, it will, and we targeted military bases, military installation of Israel. It has affected the military capability of this illegal and illegitimate regime to invade more or strike more Gaza. But
they denied, sir. Mr. Ambassador, they denied. They say your strikes have had no impact. If anything, in the last 48 hours, we've seen more Israeli strikes on Beirut, on Lebanon.
So, and the Beirut airport today.
And do you really believe, therefore, that Iran's missile strikes have actually, in any way, compromised Israel's ability to attack Gaza or Lebanon or indeed possibly Iran in the future?
You know, the media in the war, during the war, or any tension, every side tried to underestimate the consequences or result of any operation. We do the same. They have, but before the start of our talk, in your channel you show that Iranian missile how hit the territory of occupied Palestine and the explosion. So they claiming that they have Iron Dome intercepted Iranian missile, and the reaction of Netanyahu and other officials of Israel shows how painful this strike have been. But
you believe your strikes have damaged Israel?
We believe that. First of all, we had no option just to retaliate the invasion of Israel on sovereignty of Iran because of assassination of Ismail Haniyeh inside capital of Iran. This is the first. The reason of our intention of our operation. This is something which should be clear for you and for your audience. This is one thing. Secondly, we targeted military and intelligence installation and structures of Israel, which affected its capability. Of course, Israel has support of United States. As you know, the new bombs which is used and deployed by Israel recently has been submitted to Israel by United States.
But you're saying your attack is for Israel's actions inside Tehran. It's not as a retaliation to the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah. The belief is that Iran has been pushed into this because you have to show the Hezbollah, you have to show your own proxies that, look, Iran will not stand by, Iran will stand with you. Is that the reason? Because the timing seems very clear. Hassan Nasrallah's assassination is followed by the missile strike.
You know, first of all, and intentionally, the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh and violation of Ismail Haniyeh inside capital of Iran was the main reason of Iranian retaliation.
That's the main reason.
That is the main reason.
Not Hassan Nasrallah.
Hassan Nasrallah is something else. Hassan Hezbollah is enough strong.
Let's talk about some of the specific claims that are being made, Ambassador Azhar, at this point of time. Iran, like you rightly said, fired upwards of 180 ballistic missiles. They say that some of these missiles were of a hypersonic variety, etc. It's difficult to assess at this point because there's this fog of war. One of the more dramatic claims that they've made is that 3 air bases in Israel have been hit. There are some reports in Iranian media of tens of fighter aircraft being destroyed, F-35s and F-15s and things like that. Not to go into specifics, but there seems to be a very wide gap between what damage Iran is claiming and what Israel is confirming on the ground. Is the truth somewhere in the middle?
Well, it's very embarrassing for them, because the IDF spokesman, which is generally a very, very credible person, has said, it's not a claim, it's just reported exactly what happened, okay? What happened is that missiles have hit Israel, some of them that weren't intercepted. We didn't intercept those who would hurt essential places or civilians or military bases. And the rest we just don't intercept because it's not worthwhile to invest in a missile to intercept something that is going to hit in the open space. So it's very embarrassing for the Iranians. And I understand. They have prepared all this machinery of war, spent billions of dollars on the account of the oppressed Iranian people that do not have water, that are suffering from lack of essential things in life. They have deprived them from that, that from them, and instead they are investing in this terror campaign to create these armies to choke the state of Israel, take control of the Middle East. These dreams have vanished. They are not worth anything.
Are you saying this was Iran's best shot? Because they've been talking about a days-long war. They've said, when Iran finally attacks, it won't be just a few salvos of missiles like what we saw last night. It will be a longer campaign that can go on for many, many days.
Well, probably.
Are you saying that this was Iran doing its best, its hardest punch?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Iran has been investing in this machinery of war and of terror, in terrorizing not just Israel. They are responsible for killing 500,000 people in Syria. They have taken hostage the state of Lebanon. With the pretext of fighting ISIS, they have created all these militias in Iraq. They have destroyed Yemen. They have destroyed the Middle East. And they are trying to destroy the state of Israel. So what happened is that they failed. They failed colossally because 2 of their main proxies in the region were defeated by Israel, and now they find themselves having at last to fight themselves, and they are failing. They might have more missiles, but whoever is the aggressor must pay a price. And I'm very glad that many countries around the world have condemned what Iran has been doing. And I'm sure we're going to find a way to send a clear message to this fanatical regime that we will not bear. They made a very big mistake. They don't understand the conviction of our people.
Yeah.
People don't understand what is the conviction of the Israeli people, and they are claiming that we are a rotten society, because they don't understand what democracy is. When countries like Israel, that are peace-loving, are trying to postpone wars, not to fight, not to overreact, they take it as a sign of weakness. So they've been trying us time and again until they leave us no choice but to react.
You're here after just visiting Beirut. What's the situation on the ground? How difficult have things become for people in Lebanon?
Thank you, Gita. Thank you for having me. Well, the situation is an all-out war waged by Israel against Lebanon. The situation is bad. We have so far more than 1 million displaced from the mainly southern part of Lebanon and Bekaa Valley, and from Beirut also. Plus, of course, you know that we have the about 2 million Syrian refugees that Lebanon hosts. So the situation on the ground is very bad. This is on the humanitarian side. On the military side, there's the daily attack by Israel, the unprecedented firepower that dropped on civilians. So far also we have more than 2,000 innocent civilian souls have perished and more than about 5,000 wounded.
The Hezbollah has come under severe attack. Hassan Nasrullah is no more, but there was some conversation about a ceasefire agreement between Israel and the Hezbollah, which of course the Lebanese government was mediating.
Lebanon is never interested in war, and Lebanon has always been calling for a ceasefire, for peaceful solution for all the crises in the Middle East. The one party who is against every political settlement is the terrorist state of Israel. Israel has always refused the political solution and has always resorted to military measurements. What happened recently, if we want to talk directly on the current situation, is that, yes, Lebanon has been working with international powers for a ceasefire on the Lebanese front and to kind of separate it from Gaza front. And there has been with the good offices of France and the USA even and some other European powers, there has been a kind of draft agreement for a ceasefire, ceasing of hostilities. But there was a kind of plot, because even our minister mentioned it, that late Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah himself agreed to a ceasefire. But then the assassination happened, and the kind of breach of trust, then the whole situation went to square zero.
So you are saying, did Hassan Nasrallah agree to the ceasefire agreement?
He did. Yes, he did, and there were some international envoys who were sponsoring this ceasefire. And it was, of course, it was conveyed to the international community through our foreign minister, who informed the international envoys that, yes, we are ready, Lebanon as a whole is ready for a ceasefire.
So you're saying that Israel had the option and the route to a negotiation and ceasefire with the Hezbollah that could lead to peace rather than the attack that was carried out immediately after. When was the ceasefire agreed upon? Was it just days before the attack on the Hezbollah?
It was obvious later that it was just a whole plot to assassinate Hassan Nasrallah. It was a plot that Israel would announce their first or the preliminary accept of ceasefire, and Netanyahu was in the at New York at the UN General Assembly delivering speeches, his speech, and then this assassination happened. All of a kind of plot, military plot to assassinate Hezbollah leader.